So welcome back everybody. In this episode I'm going ahead and giving you a sneak peek of what's to come. I've just picked up 2 additional batteries for my EcoFlow Delta Pros, and I'm building out my emergency backup power system here in my pantry of all places. This is a good spot to put it. I'm already wired in here for a system like this, straight into my main panel over here. We recently just spent days without power due to Hurricane Idalia. We took almost a direct hit there, and a lot of our neighborhood didn't have power for 2 weeks. And I learned a lot through that power outage. It really got me thinking. So we're going to upgrade our emergency system here in the house, as well as in another episode, we're going to upgrade our shop system out there. But today we're focusing on the EcoFlow Delta Pros. These really bailed us out when we took a hit by Hurricane Idalia. I seen the value in them, and I really seen value in doubling my storage capacity. So that's what I'm checking out today. 2 additional batteries. We're building a rack so we can roll this around and kind of store it in here and get to all of our hookups. And as you can hear, these are ramped up. I'm already many hours into running test. Right now I have my central AC running, freezers, refrigerators. I have the whole house going beyond what I would consider an emergency preparedness. I want to put these to the test right here, and I'm going to bring y'all along for that. So let's dive right into it. Let's do a real quick flashback, because I've already run a lot of tests on these. Let's don't repeat ourselves. I'm going to show you in some past videos to where we run a big 240 volt well pump on these, our dryer, which is the biggest demand item that we have, our central AC, which we're running right now. It actually just kicked off. Hear those ramp down, as well as every single thing else in our house. So take a look at these clips, and then let me show you how I built this roll around cart. All right, what I consider to probably be the highest draw appliance, at least we're personally going to have in our home, is an electric dryer. This right here should pull thousands of watts. So I'm about to put it on a heating cycle, kick it on. This is probably going to be the ultimate test for these units. All right, it's running. Let's go take a look at the power. All right, the units, yes, they have wound up. They are kicking. Look at this right here. 2,900 watts there, 2,700 watts there. So you're talking well over 5,000 watts. All right, here is the well test. Let's turn both of these on. You can see we're pulling 150 watts over there, 67 here. Let's go turn some water on and see what these shoot up to when the well pump kicks on. Sure hope this works. If it does, I am in business for an outage. Can take showers, can run AC, and anything else in the house that I want. All right, just kicked on. Yes, I seen a flicker in the lights. And let's take a look here at power. 1,500 watts on either side. We're pulling a little over 3,000 total, and we have to take off close to 300 watts there. It's about 2,700 watts to run a 1.5 horsepower deep well pump. All right, so here's how everything fits in our pantry, which is where we have our main panel as well as our generator inlet box, which powers our main panel. By the way, I have an episode on that showing how I wired that up if you're curious about it. I'll put it up here and we'll put it at the end of this video as well. The reason I built this rack on casters is so I can bring it out, do all my wiring hookup, plus if I ever need to access the panel, you're supposed to leave, well, access way to your main panel. I do all my own electrical, so it's no big deal, but now I can pull this out, roll it right out of the way, and have full access over here. And I can still open and close and check breakers anyways without even having to move this. Alright, so for this lip that I did up top, I flipped the trim upside down so I could nail through a thicker part of the wood right here, and I wanted to leave about an inch lip because I knew I was going to put my cables and other things up here for hooking these units up. I'll also have to roll this out in order to hook up one of these main battery cables to the back side of the Delta Pro and to the battery itself. And the Delta Pros will actually have to slide forward and hang off the rack a little so we can access this flap right in here. So we can hook up our 240 volt hookup right here. I've never been crazy about the cable management for these, but that's kind of a minor gripe for these being like an industry standard and leader in the 240 volt hookup. That's the beauty of having two of these. We can go to 240 volt split phase and run our entire panel, not to mention our central AC, our well pump, and anything else that we need. Alright, so I'm going to pull this out, hook the batteries to the main units, and then hook up this 240 volt box right here, and then we'll power up the house and do a 12-hour test. I'm really curious to see how this does in a non-emergency situation. I'm going to go ahead and run central AC today. I'm going to run our pump and well and anything else that we need to run in the house, from fans to lights, you name it, freezers, refrigerators. So this actually kind of be a worst case scenario for these units. Typically in an emergency situation, we wouldn't run a lot of that stuff. We'd take hot showers and run our pump and well, freezers, refrigerators, but we'd kill a lot of other stuff in the house to get more life out of these batteries. That's what we just recently did with Hurricane Idalia. Okay, so we're powered up. You can see what we've got going on here. All four units are in communication with each other. So this is the part I'm not crazy about, the dual voltage hub, the way it comes out the side. It's kind of just dangling here right now. It feels okay. These are very stiff cables, and that's where you plug in your 240 volt generator plug that goes back to my interlock. Again, I show a video with a full installation of that. Looking on the back side of the units, you have your cables that loop around and connect the batteries up to the units themselves. And all the units are fully charged to 100% and showing the additional battery is connected. I think in the future I'm going to take this dual voltage hub and figure out a way to mount it, say, to the board on the side here so it's not dangling. But this is why I'm testing everything before the next outage to make sure it all works and see what changes I want to make. Alright, so if we go into our main panel, I have a generator interlock kit up here. I also show how to install that on the channel. And I have to slide that up, throw off the main power, and then flip on the breaker coming from these Delta Pros. Alright, everything in the house is resetting. You hear the fans kicking on the Delta Pros. Not crazy loud, but we don't have a high load on them either. Alright, so let's take a peek. This bottom one's outputting 290 watts at the bottom. And this one is 269, so very evenly spaced. You got a lot of stuff kicking on right now, so you'll see some surges. But we'll let all this balance out, and you can see this unit saying it'll run for 23 hours. At the current load, that'll run for 22 hours. So this is my typical house load. I have monitored my house enough. With freezers, refrigerators, fans, security system, Wi-Fi, stuff like that, we're typically around 400 to 600 watts an hour is what we use. It's whenever we kick on our large 1.5 horsepower well pump that pulls 3,000 watts and 240 volts, by the way. So that'll pull 1,500 watts from each unit. That's only for a few seconds to fill up our well out there, and then it just doesn't kick on again. So our longest running, most powerful, normal, everyday device is going to be our central AC. But believe it or not, because our house is so well insulated, we only have a 2-ton AC, and it only pulls about 1,800 watts. I will actually use that in an emergency situation, especially say if a hurricane hits and it's extremely hot. That's common, but my house is so well insulated that I only have to run that about 20 to 30 minutes, which would be 900 watts total usage from each unit. And then I won't run it again for several hours. I could realistically run that unit probably about 7 hours straight on the amount of power that I have right here. But keep in mind, that's a central AC. But by far the most powerful thing that we have in the house, and what I refuse to run during emergency outages, is your dryer. Mine pulls about 5,000 watts, and that would deplete even a setup this size in about 2.5 hours. There's just no point in running that. We'll hang close if we're on a multiple day outage, or whenever I get solar hooked up to this coming soon, we may do a load of laundry during the day when we're getting good sunlight in and we're charging the unit up, and it can help offset some of the usage coming out of these. But we'll play with all that in the future. So the ultimate goal here is, let's see how long. I've already started a timer. We're gonna run this about 12 hours today. Let everything run in the house. I'm home all day, so I'm gonna run the water, I'm gonna run the central AC, and I'm not turning anything off. And this will give us an idea of what we can do in the future in a next emergency outage. So my goal would be that we could run these all night long, so it's nice and quiet. We can even run our central AC and cool off and be comfortable, fans, everything, save our food, and then get up the next day, fire up our huge gas generator, charge these up. Hopefully by then I have my solar system up, so I don't even need, well, the generator itself, and then we can do that again the next night. All right, just kicked my AC on. I bumped it down to 77. We control our humidity in the house, so 77, 78 feels like everybody's house that you walk in that's 74. Lower the humidity, the cooler it feels. But I wanted to go ahead and put an extra load on these. They've been running for several hours. You can see it's saying they can run around 5 to 6 hours right now. Before I kicked that AC on, it was still showing 20 hours. And this AC is not going to run long. So if you take a look at that unit, just under 1,000 watts output. That's running everything in the house along with my central AC. And it's pretty evenly spaced, 1,100 watts down here. All right, y'all, so we're gathering good information here. Believe it or not, our house is extremely efficient. So the AC only ran about 10 minutes. I think I'm going to bump it on down to 76, even though it already feels cool in here. And take a look at this. After it kicked off, the house is kind of back in idle mode. We have one full day, it's saying, of running the house like this. This one says 23 hours down here of capacity remaining. Now that's amazing, because we are already about 4 or 5 hours into this test, and we're running AC and well and everything else. I have not cut back any other usage. One other very important point that I want to talk about, EcoFlow actually listens to people. I just really do like this company, y'all. That's why I've worked with them more than anybody else, and will continue to do so. So myself, along with other content creators that test this stuff and really dig into the nuts and bolts of it, we've been screaming for a couple of years now that there needs to be a feature on the Delta Pros to truly classify these as, well, a home backup solution. And they listened. Well, the app just got updated with that feature, and I got an email from the company, and I was so thankful to hear it. So long story short, one of the biggest improvements I have been looking for, and people like Will Prowse and other ones have been asking about, if you're going to label these as a home backup solution, well, a lot of y'all are going to be plugging these in at, say, a cabin or a vacation home, or you're going to evacuate for a hurricane like we did, leaving this here running our entire house, our security system, our cameras, our internet, our food. Well, I want to know this thing's taken care of. And a lot of y'all are going to say plug these into solar panels that may be outside, or however else you're going to charge these back up. Well, in the past, when these went all the way to 0, they would shut down as expected, and they would never turn back on should, say, you start getting solar back in and they start charging back up. That's a feature that you really need to have. I need to know if I'm evacuated for a few days that, well, my freezer is going to come back on. These can stay off for quite a few hours. So if you'll update to the most current firmware in the units and update your app, you'll see there is an always on feature now that you can set up parameters. Should these discharge down completely, shut off, and then start back charging while you're no longer around here, you can set to where these will kick back on. AC automatic back on is what we're really looking for. You don't have to physically be here and press the AC on button no more, and bam, you're back to running. Your freezers, your refrigerators, other stuff that you want going is back powered up. I am so happy that they're actually listening to us. One other very important note that I want to get across to you: if you have a dual Delta Pro setup like I do with the 240 volt hub hooked up, they're essentially sharing in neutral. This is called split phase. You have 2 hots coming out of each unit, sharing in neutral. That's exactly how a home panel is wired up. When you have them set up just like I have right now, you cannot charge these units up plug them into the wall or plug them into a generator, so to speak, while they're together. You're creating a weird loop here. It's difficult to explain because they're sharing a common neutral. So you can't charge them via AC. If you have a single Delta Pro and batteries and all, that is no problem. The cool thing is, if you have solar panels or any sort of DC charging, you still can charge 2 units hooked together like this. All right, here we are 8.5 hours into these running. Let's take a peek at them. AC's kicked off and on. Ultimately, what we're looking at is the main unit, because it is taking a calculation of remaining battery here and in itself. This unit's still saying we have 13 hours of runtime. That one's saying 20 hours. Ultimately, that's because, well, there's a load imbalance. On one of the phases in the panel, we have something pulling more than the other. And that's probably because we have an ice maker and a mini fridge running on the front porch, and those are on the same line. And it's probably this one right here. In an emergency situation, we're going to go turn both of those off, and we would probably realistically be closer to that 20 hours of runtime down there. Alright y'all, it is 12 hours later. It is pitch black dark outside. I apologize for the poor lighting. We just got 2 bright LED lights in here. But we've gathered some great information. This is why we run tests. This is why we do the things that we do. So this particular unit right here is still saying we have another 3 hours of runtime, and we're already 12 hours into just running everything as we wish. This particular unit says 12 hours of runtime. So what that tells me is I have a major imbalance in my panel here. So we're going to cover this in another episode where we're going to go in and balance our panel. Balance our loads is what it's called. So what I discovered today is my freezer, my ice maker, my mini fridge, and my refrigerator in the house are all on the same phase, so to speak. That's why this one is pulled down to 21% and this one is still 45%. The good news is I can literally swap 2 breakers in here, which we're going to cover coming up, and I need to do this in my shop bad. So overall, unbelievably impressed. I literally have what's essentially 4 batteries here. Now that's way more than that. There's a lot more technology going on here, but I've got 4 batteries that's ran my house all day long, and I've made no changes. I've literally run stuff that I shouldn't have ran. If this was an emergency outage, I really think I could push this system to maybe 18 to 24 hours, and that's including me occasionally turning on my central AC to cool the house down. So the next hurricane that comes, I'm feeling a lot more confident now, or the next cold front that comes through, high gust of winds, grid goes down, I think we're good. I can literally come in here, roll this out, power the house up, and I don't have to go outside in a hurricane, in rain, winds, nothing. Now if we have an extended outage, guess what? Well, we're eventually going to do solar panels to charge us up, or I fire up the big generator, charge all this stuff up, and this right here gives the generator a major break. Is this for everybody? Absolutely not, but it's for a lot of y'all. I get emails, direct messages, and comments on this stuff all the time. This is why I love testing it. Now, don't let me hype this up too much. I'm a realist and I'm honest with y'all. We run a very small central AC here. We've got a new house that's very well insulated, but I didn't make any other changes today. Literally, we ran microwaves, freezers, refrigerators, ice makers, anything that we wanted. But our AC is smaller. It's a 2-ton AC. You may have a much larger one, which is going to put more of a load on these units, but I do believe they could still absolutely handle it. All right, to wrap this up, just to let y'all know, depending on when you're watching this, dates are down in the description. It's going to be only the first couple days this video posts. They're running a fall savings sale on these units right here, which is a pretty significant discount. I see the sale on Amazon and on their website. I'll put a link down there so you can go check that out. We'll catch you on the next video where we'll run some more tests, and we have a lot more solar coming.